Hey, everybody, welcome to Shine Your Light, a Women Lead podcast. I'm Esther.
I'm Rhonda.
And I'm Andrea, and we are missing Sarah today. So we want to give a shout out to Sarah who couldn't be with us today.
Miss you, Sarah.
So today we are going to be talking about our four pillars for Women Lead and then our individual personal four pillars. And I'm sure you guys are curious as to what those actually are. I know for me, it's been a game changer in my life, and it's truly a foundation. So, Andrea, why don't you tell us a little bit about what are four pillars, what are four pillars, and why are they such a foundation for helping us know who we are and that sort of thing, and how it attributes or how it relates to Women Lead and each of us. So.
Yeah. So when I first started Women Lead, one of my friends asked me what my true values were. And when I had to dig into that question, I didn't really know what the answer was. I knew what my values should be, and they were something like the saying on the wall, faith, family, friends, because that's what everyone says. But when I started to dig into those a little bit and see them as action words, I realized that it's those are things that are important to me, but they are not my true values. And I started trying to figure that out for myself. And I have a process that I go through that helps you figure out which values belong to you. And I see it in order to get a visual of it. I call it building your foundation. And if you are going to build a building, you need a foundation to do that. And you need the four corners that hold that foundation up. And I connect it to the Three Little Pigs story. If you build your house out of sticks or straw, the big bad wolf is going to come in and blow your house down. And the little pig who took longer, who made more effort to figure out the foundation and build it stronger, is the one that survived. So when that storm comes in, when that big bad wolf comes in, you're going to need those four pillars to keep yourself strong. The big bad wolf is something like a divorce, a death, a tragedy, a loss of a job, a loss of a friendship. Those are things that knock us down and keep us from getting back up sometimes if we don't know who we are. And that's what Women Lead is all about, is knowing who you are and building into that. So does that answer? I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no, I think that was a great answer to the question. Tell us a little bit about the four pillars of Women Lead.
Yeah, so I did my own four pillars, and then I decided, well, if I'm going to have an organization, I need to know the values of that organization too, because culture is most important, and your culture is set around your values. You bring people together who have the same values as you. And I wanted it to be an acronym because I wanted it to fit all neatly. And so the values of Women Lead, I call the big C. It's belonging, not just fitting in. Belonging is more than being who you should be. And you'll hear me say that a lot, is women so often are trying to be who we should be to everyone else instead of who we really are. So belonging is accepting other women as who they are and trying to understand their differences versus discounting their differences. And then impact. I want to make a difference in the world. I want to make the world a better place. And I want to surround myself with women who also want to do that. The third thing is growth. I believe we should be growing every single year. Every single day, we should be becoming a better version of ourselves. There is nothing wrong with who you are right this second. But if you think about it, we have been physically changing our entire life. I don't look the way I looked even 6 months ago. Thanks to Rhonda, I'm a better version of myself. And so growth is so important, and so many of us just settle in. And then the last one is connection. When I talk to you, I connect with you. Uh, I may not know exactly how you feel about something or agree with how you feel about something, but I can connect with with the things that we do have in common. And if more women could do that, if we could just allow each other to be who we really are and connect and empathize with each other, the world would be a lot better place. So those are the 4 pillars. Those are the things that are going to get us through, get women as a whole, as this entire organization, through the rough spots, because we're going through some rough spots right now in a lot of ways.
So
One of the 4 pillars was
go ahead. Go ahead, Rhonda.
one of the 4 pillars that you talked about was impact. Can you tell me a little bit about what you'd like to see the impact of Women Lead be?
I would like to see more women who know what they bring to the table. This is a statement I use all the time because we all bring something. It's not I used to think it's I'm not smart enough, I'm not educated enough, I'm not enough in general. I even had it tattooed on my arm because we all have our beliefs about who we are, and we all have so much more than that we bring to the table. And Women Lead is a network of women who believe that, and we're stronger together. I can see your strengths so much easier than I can see my own, and vice versa. So if we're all working together, we make an impact. I see the world as having a bad pool and a good pool. And there is good and bad in every single one of us. And it's whichever side we feed that's going to be the side that comes out. And we all want the good to come out. I don't like when I'm a raging bitch, and I can be sometimes. So I have to keep feeding the good side. And that's
Right.
what impact is about, is help reminding people, yes, it's okay to be a raging bitch. If we use that 80-20 rule, 20% of the time, we can lose control of ourselves just a little bit. And then we can go back to that 80% of the impact that we want to make. Because make no mistake,
Good
it is
point.
okay to say what you feel and to be angry and to have all of your feelings. You just don't want to live there.
Yeah, I love that don't live there, because I know for me, when I allow myself to live there, that's when it really negatively impacts my depression and anxiety. And so, and I think that's how sometimes we get lost even. And so, allowing ourselves to be human in that 20%, and then the rest of the time doing the good human things.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yes. So Rhonda, I want both of you to tell me, because you've both been through the four pillar process. So I want you to say how it's affected you since it happened, since you've determined what yours are. So Rhonda, why don't you start?
Ooh. Well, I think one of the things that, from listening to you talk about impact, one of the things that really stands out to me is that I used to think that setting boundaries was being a bitch.
Yes.
And it's not. It's a completely different thing. So I think the biggest impact on me has been discovering my pillars, which are integrity, empathy, serving others, and connection, are my 4. Have really helped me establish boundaries for myself that keep those values front of mind. And I think that's probably the biggest impact that it's had on me. It also gives me a filter that I filter everything through. So if I'm trying to make a decision on something, I filter it through my pillars to decide, does it line up with my desire to serve others? Does it line up with connecting with others? Does it line up? Is it empathetic? I mean, does it have integrity? those things, once I filter it through, it makes the decisions a lot easier and the boundaries a lot easier. How about you,
Yeah.
Esther?
So my four pillars are love, joy, peace, and kindness. And I talk about it often in my posts online. But I really, not to sound like a broken record, but I use it to filter through all the decisions that I make as well. It is truly what has helped me be more confident in myself. It has helped me really become grounded in my truth. When I'm making decisions about anything, whether it's has to do with my kids or my husband or my family as a whole, I run it through those filters. And while I sometimes need to say no, I really am showing myself love and kindness. And I'm showing other people love and kindness, because if I say yes to something that I don't really want to do and show up, then I'm not my best
Yeah.
self. And so it is truly something that I really, it's been a game changer in discovering who I am, as well as helping me move forward in my work. And then also with my depression and anxiety, one of my pillars is peace, and I chose that intentionally because when I struggle with my mental health and when I'm depressed or struggling with my anxiety, I am not at peace. And so that one of my pillars that helps me the most in combating against my depression and anxiety. And so it's definitely, the four pillars has definitely just been, that game changer, like I said earlier. And it truly is the foundation on which I am building my family and my work. So, yeah. Andrea, how about you?
One thing, and I'll share mine in just a minute, but one thing that you mentioned, when you think about values, we think about them as just like words that matter. And I think it was Simon Sinek, I heard him talk about your values being an action word. And a lot of people will talk about truth or honesty as one of their values. And then you ask yourself, okay, how am I putting that into action? And here's the thing that really got me. If you're lying to yourself about what you really want, if you are saying, yes, I'll be a volunteer for that, or yes, I'll attend that event when you really want to say no, and you do it anyway, you just lied to yourself and to someone else. So you violated that value of truth. And we don't see it that way, because back to that, we want to be good people. And that's where this work helps so much. You can't just say, okay, truth is one of my values. You have to investigate that a little bit and see how you're walking the walk, right? And
Right, how
that
it's being applied.
that was huge for me, because I would absolutely want to say that honesty is one of my values. And then I had to look
Yeah.
at myself and say, but you're not being honest in a lot of places in your life. So,
Yeah.
so you're violating your own values. And that was really hard for me in the beginning. And because of that, my values, my number one value is authenticity. I have to be who I am and not who I think I should be. And that means taking off all of those labels and all of those masks that I have had for my entire life and really examining them. So, authenticity, integrity, which is walking the walk. If I say that I'm kind to everyone, then I need to be kind to everyone. And that is a hard one. It really
It's a
is.
really hard one.
The people who need kindness the most are the ones who might deserve it the least. And it's a struggle. Authenticity, integrity, empathy. For me, I have to know why you feel the way you feel. I have to dig into that. It helps me understand you a little bit better. And then courage or bravery. A lot of times when you're doing this process, you find that fourth one is interchangeable a little bit. Usually
Mhm.
those top three are solid and the fourth one interchanges. So mine goes back and forth between bravery and courage, which I think are kind of the same thing. And that is having the courage to be authentic, to have empathy, and to live with integrity. So those are mine. And again, I'm like Rhonda, I use them as filters. I forget a lot of times. It's so easy to react to things, react to circumstances instead of respond. And then I have to go inward and look at my values and run it through that filter.
But have you noticed that it's gotten easier as you've used them more?
Oh, absolutely. Almost to the point that sometimes it's so easy that that I have to take a step back and and one of the things I like to do is say, where aren't you being authentic? Like try to pick it apart a little bit and find a place where I'm
Mhm.
not and figure out how I can get better. Because it's just like anything, you get complacent. This is who I am, and then you get into a pattern of it. So that's another important piece.
think,
Right.
I think too, I can always tell when I'm not using it. Like something just feels off. Or when I'm battling with making a decision, I'm like, why am I struggling with this so much? And it's like, oh, wait, it's because I'm not going back to those four pillars. I'm not using the tools that I have at my disposal to help me make those decisions. Um, so yeah, I think, for me, it does become easier and I can always tell when I'm not using it. So yeah.
One of the things that I have found, and I've seen this in a lot of clients as well, is you can trace these are inherent values. These are things that are important to you all the way back to when you're a kid. And you can look for it's not so easy to see as it's happening, but hindsight's 2020. So I can go back all the way to childhood when I was probably 3 years old and see the things I value. My childhood hero was Mr. Rogers, who always talked about empathy and understanding other people and exposing yourself to different things. I mean, if you do that, if you use this process and if you are willing to take a deep dive in it, it's incredible the things that you can find out about yourself that are going to make you stronger, help you set boundaries, all of those.
Something that
Absolutely.
really helped me when I was figuring out my four pillars is, one of the things you have us do, Andrea, and I'll ask a little bit more about that here in a second, is you have us list all these things. And I really struggled with finalizing those four pillars because there's so many other amazing things like empathy, for example. That was
Yeah.
one that was originally on my list. And I kept struggling with it because it didn't quite fit, even though I am extremely empathetic. And then I realized that some of these words kind of fall as subcategories, or you build off those four pillars in creating this house
Yeah.
of all of these different things that matter to you. So, like, empathy can fall under love or kindness, um, or even peace and joy. And so that allowed me to help me refine some of those ones that I struggled with, and authenticity being one of those. I am at peace when I am authentic. And so that is why I chose peace, because peace is so important to me for my depression and my anxiety and what gives me peace. And so, um, why don't you talk about, or maybe you could talk about a little bit about how we get to that place of discovering what our four pillars are.
Yeah, so I can take you through the process really quickly. It's a long list of words, things that might be important to you. And what you do is you go through that list and you circle all of the things that are important to you. And then you narrow it down to 8. And you have to ask yourself some questions, and I work with you to figure that out. And then you narrow it down again to those final 4. And I love what you said about trying to figure out how they're all included. I had a client who was really struggling with it. And she had this aha moment because I had given her that visual of building the house. And she was picturing building a house by the ocean, where you truly have the house that stands up, and it does have
On
those
stilts.
giant, right? Those giant pillars. And she
Mhm.
said, all the words that I wanted to fit in, that I wanted to be, I decided that I needed to pick one category for each of those pillars and then figure out where the other words fit into that. And because I filled that pillar with those words, it made the pillar even bigger and stronger. And I thought that was a great visual, because she's saying, I'm not giving up empathy. I'm putting empathy inside this pillar of
Yes.
peace, right? Because those are the things and it's so cool. What's been the most fun for me is it's a really simple exercise, but everyone does it differently and everyone sees it from a different perspective. And every single person has come out of it like, oh my gosh, now I know who I am. And this is how I move forward. And I encourage you to try it. Come up with a whole list of
So
words. Go ahead, Esther.
if they do
or
want to
Rhonda.
try it, how can they get a hold of you?
You can find me on Facebook at Ask Andrea. I have a group where you can start learning in community of other women called Women Lead. And they could reach out to any of you. What we'll do, I think we already do this, but we'll put all of our contact information. Rhonda talks about physical health. Esther talks about mental health. Sarah talks about parenting and relationships. I talk about personal growth. The 4 of us come together as Women Lead to tackle women's issues from each of our perspectives through each of our pillars. And gosh, if you're listening to this, I'm telling you, we've been doing this for 3 years now. And that's why we're on this podcast, to share with you the kind of conversations that we've been having for 3 years. So you just told us your 4 pillars. Tell us how you have changed in the last 3 years as a result of learning your pillars, meeting with the 4 of us meeting together. How has that changed your life for the better? Whoever wants to
Ooh, good
tackle that.
question. I think again, the biggest thing has been I was a person who had no boundaries and then felt resentful about it. I would change everything to bend over backwards to serve other people, and serving people is one of my pillars. But when I figured out that setting boundaries was healthy, not only for me, but for the other people also, it made a huge, huge difference in how I lived my life. And because of that, I have been able to dream way bigger than I've ever been able to dream before, because I am not constantly collapsing my boundaries for everyone else. I'm actually living my own life now rather than being available to serve everyone. And it's
Yes.
been life-changing.
Yes, actually living my own life
Yeah,
that's really big.
it is. It's huge.
Yeah.
But
Good
you
job,
have,
Rhonda.
Esther?
There's 2 things that I thought of when Andrea asked the question, and then as Rhonda was talking. One is my confidence in myself, and then truly loving myself. This past year, especially, I've really been on this journey of truly loving myself, and this group has been instrumental in that. I know going through Rhonda's 60, is it 60, it's not 60 for 60.
Yeah, 60 for 60.
60 for
60 for 60. Okay, I was second guessing myself. Has changed a lot or helped me, grow in that area, especially. But just the conversations that we have as a group allow me to walk away every time really thinking about what's important to me and my growth. And not only does it help me grow as a person, but it really challenges me to think from all these different angles and different views instead of my own viewpoint, which I think is important when you develop relationships with other people. So that, just having the group itself has been instrumental, but in my confidence, but really refining my usage of my 4 pillars has been pivotal for me as well, because I couldn't really move forward with my work until I became more confident in who I was. And also, there's something truly magical that happens when you really fall in love with yourself. And I don't mean like full of myself, I mean truly loving who I am as a person. And I never would have been able to get to that place if it wasn't for my 4 pillars being so grounded in them. And then just having the conversations that we have as Women Lead. So that's how it's really changed my life in ways that I never could imagine, honestly. So
I want to make a comment about that because I feel like loving yourself specifically, because I feel like so many women see that as some sort of arrogance, like, oh, if I love myself, therefore I think I'm all that. And I want to just point out, so when I look at a picture, when Rhonda gets on our calls, she has a profile picture on her Zoom that looks exactly like her granddaughter. Just the look on her face and the angle of her face, I think of her granddaughter every single time. Esther is the same way with her little girl. Looks just like her. Think about, and if you're listening to this too, think about that little girl that you love, whether it's your daughter or your granddaughter. And sometimes she throws fits and sometimes she does things that you don't particularly like, but you love her no matter what, and you wouldn't change anything about her. You accept her. And that's the way we need to be with ourselves. That is what truly loving yourself means. It's not, I only love myself if I weigh a certain amount, if I have makeup on, if my face looks the way or hair looks the way I think it should look. Loving yourself is, oh, I look like shit today, and that is okay, right? And it's so hard to describe. You don't know what it feels like until you feel it. And that's why I like to use the example of the daughter or the granddaughter, because you do know what that feels like.
yeah.
And you can feel like that about yourself too. And that's another reason why we exist, why the 4 pillars are so important. And one last thing, I don't want to keep rambling here, but Women Lead, these conversations fill my cup. What I was doing before this, the inauthentic version of me, was filling everybody else's cup. Not saying what I really thought because I wasn't supposed to get out of line. I was supposed to not make waves and try to be the peacekeeper. That was not who I was. So I was suppressing a piece of myself in order to make other people happy. And I realized that I can keep pouring out of my cup, and I have a visual of this that I'm going to have to show on a video, because if I keep pouring out, eventually my cup is empty and there's nothing left to give to other people. But if I set my cup in the middle of my life and I keep pouring in, eventually I fill up and I pour out over the other people. And the same result is accomplished without me discrediting myself or becoming bitter and angry because I'm suppressing myself. It's so.
And you still have a full cup.
And
Your
you
cup is completely full the whole
yes,
time.
yes, your cup is
Yeah.
completely full and everybody else's is too. It's so simple. We just make it complicated. We make
Yeah.
it complicated and it's really simple. And these
And it changes the people
conversations,
around you.
it does change the people around you. I mean, we've seen how our environment can change us in a negative way. It can certainly change us in a positive way. And
Yeah.
and why aren't we taking advantage of that? I don't know. But that's why we're here, right?
Well, I wasn't taking advantage of it because I didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that brings up another point. How many things have you said in your life you felt a certain way and you thought you were the only one?
Oh, lots of
A
times.
lot.
Like, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think back to being a stay-at-home mom. That's what I really wanted. I wanted to be able to stay home with my kids and be there 24/7. And also, it was hard as hell. And some days
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought, Andrea, wouldn't it be awesome to just go to work every day and leave these kids with the babysitter? And then the shame cycle would start. And then that's when you start beating yourself down and you shouldn't feel that way. And I thought I must be the only woman who didn't just love her kids 24/7. And then when I started talking to other people and being honest about that, I found out we all feel that way. We all love our kids more than anything in the world and also need a minute.
Yes.
That's real honesty. That's having honesty as a value, being able to say that and people love you anyway, and you love yourself anyway.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh,
We probably should be wrapping up. Are we going to shine our
yes.
lights?
Yes. Who wants to? So
Oh, that's Sarah's job.
that
I
is
Oh my
Sarah's
goodness.
job.
Okay,
So
I'll take
Rhonda,
over
tell us
Sarah's
about
job.
shining our light.
Shine your light this week. Esther, how are you going to shine your light this week?
So I guess honestly, I'm just really proud of I was kind of talking to Andrea and Rhonda about this, just kind of being at a crossroads in my life recently. And um some things have happened recently that have kind of helped solidify um the direction that I should be going with my work. And so many people were really sad for me. And I was just like, I'm really not, because I think honestly, it's because of the work that I've done. So I'm very proud of myself in that. But it's also because now I know which direction I'm supposed to head. And so that's just really exciting for me. And so I am very proud of the work that I've done. And also kind of getting to this place where I know what direction I need to take. So, yeah.
I love
Andrea.
How about you, Andrea?
My light is going to be this conversation has sparked why I started Women Lead and what I believe is important for women to know. And I think there's a lot of women who are hurting right now, who are uncertain. Their particular storm in whatever that looks like has come in and they don't know how to deal with it. And I feel like part of my calling is to help them get where I helped all of us to get. And I'm going to go shine my light a little brighter in that right now.
And you are so good at that. That is really one of your gifts.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So how am I going to shine my going reaching out to more women in my community to get these conversations started. And I think today I will plan a date for that and start inviting people.
Love that.
Yes, love that. That's all it takes. We think we need some great big game plan, and all we have to do is one step in front of the other. We know what we want, we know what other people need to hear, and we just do it. Kind of like
Yeah.
motherhood.
Because we
Yes.
all know in here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
Oh.
All
All
right.
right. Well, if you enjoyed this podcast today, please subscribe. It will be found on YouTube, and Esther is going to be putting it on Spotify. So subscribe to the podcast. And again, you can do the values exercise. Just go to Ask Andrea on Facebook. And it's the same on Instagram, right?
Yes.
Or Instagram, and send her a message, and she'll be happy to get you hooked up with that. And Women Lead is that the name of the group now? Women Lead?
Yes, the Facebook group is Women Lead Ready, Women Ready to Grow.
Right. And Esther, where can you be found?
So it's Esther Schultz author, or you can just go to honestly, if you just go to my website, it's www.theestherschultz.com. You can find me on social media or just reach out to me there as well. So yeah.
All right. One last shameless plug. The Women Lead organization is having our very first Women Lead live event on March 22nd, 2025 in Columbus, Ohio. Tickets are on sale now. All four of us are going to be speaking about Women Lead, what it has meant to us, how it has changed our life, and how it can change your life. And we're also going to have a keynote speaker who's going to be talking about what it looks like for women in leadership. So you are not going to want to miss that. Watch our social media pages for
I am so excited.
for a link to purchase your ticket for that. It's going to be so much fun.
Before we go, how can we find Rhonda?
Oh, you can find me on Facebook, Rhonda Thornton. I'm a holistic health coach, but just follow me on my personal page is probably your best bet. Or my group on Facebook is Choosing a Healthy Me.
All
And
right.
website is choosingahealthyme.org.
All right. Thanks for
Right.
joining us, guys.
Thank you all. Bye.